Dawson City was put on the international map by the discovery of gold in August of 1896. But the story of this area does not begin there. The area's geology tells an intertwined story of unique mineral landscape and the presence of an Ice Age habitat, Burinia. This story continues to define the area today as gold miners discover the bones and vegetation from this period in the Klondike's frozen ground. In 2016, a Dawson area miner uncovered the pristine remains of an ancient wolf pup from the permafrost. Teeth, fur, and even internal organs were all intact. This incredible find was dated at 57,000 years old. The wolf pup was named Zer, which means wolf in the Han language. Mammoth tusks and bones are a more common find, and these can be seen on display in various places around Dawson City. Although it is difficult to determine accurate dates, patterns of movement, and origins of Yukon's first inhabitants, we know that First Nations people have frequented the area for millennia. Most notably are the Hwëch'in of the Han people, who have used the area for centuries, primarily as a seasonal fish camp. While in Dawson, the Hwëch'in welcome you to hear their story when you visit the Dano Cultural Center. Outsiders began trickling into the Yukon during the 19th century, determined prospectors, hardy traders, devout missionaries, and the dedicated Northwest Mounted Police called the Territory home prior to the Big Strike of 1896. However, the discovery of gold created a wave of change as well as a significant increase in the population. This opened up new facets of the Dawson area, which ultimately changed the face of the North American landscape. This is just a small nugget of our community's exciting past. During your visit you'll have an opportunity to immerse yourself in the various chapters of Dawson City's vibrant history. The Hwëch'in are a Yukon First Nation based in Dawson City. The citizenship of roughly 1,100 includes descendants of the Han-speaking people, who have lived along the Yukon River for millennia, and a diverse mix of families descended from Hwëch'in, Northern Tutchone and other language groups. Yukon First Nations set the land claims process in motion during the 1970s. Hwëch'in began negotiating their individual land claim in 1991. The Hwëch'in final agreement was signed on July 16, 1998, and came into effect on September 15, 1998. The Hwëch'in government ensures a strong and healthy future for citizens while maintaining connections to traditional knowledge and the land. The First Nation is governed by an elected chief and 4 councillors, who rely on direction from the Elders Council, a body comprising all Hwëch'in people aged 55 and over. The General Assembly, all voting-age citizens, gather at least once a year to pass extraordinary resolutions, approve legislation and provide direction to political leaders. Dawson City, Yukon is the heart of the world-famous Klondike Gold Rush. On August 16, 1896, 3 Yukon Sourdoughs, George Carmack, Dawson Charlie, and Skookum Jim found gold on Rabbit Creek, now Bonanza Creek, a tributary of the Klondike River. Word of this find quickly spread to the about 1,000 prospectors, miners, Northwest Mounted Police, missionaries and others who called the Yukon home at the time. Settlements were quickly abandoned as a rush to stake the best ground commenced. 2 of these residents were Ladue and Harper, who had been trading in the Yukon for years. They were quick to purchase, stake and establish the town site of Dawson, named for Canadian geologist George Mercer Dawson, at the confluence of the Yukon and Klondike Rivers, about 20 kilometers from Discovery Claim. A historic black and white photo of a prospector panning for gold. News reached the outside world in July of 1897 when the steamships Excelsior and Portland reached San Francisco and Seattle, respectively, with the successful miners from the previous season carrying the infamous ton of gold. News spread like wildfire of a land where nuggets could be picked off the creek floor to a recession-suffering world and caused an unprecedented stampede of an estimated 100,000 people to set out to the Klondike. Most left knowing little of the journey they would undertake. They followed treacherous routes that involved uncharted landscapes, snow-choked mountain passes and freezing rivers to stake their claim to fortune in the Klondike. Most would need to travel over 5,000 kilometers to get to Dawson City. In 1898 Dawson quickly grew as 30,000, some say 50, pick-and-shovel miners, prospectors, storekeepers, saloon keepers, bankers, gamblers, prostitutes and adventure seekers took over the town site. Most arrived to discover the good ground had been staked in the previous 2 years. Many simply booked passage home, but others stayed and made fortunes through other endeavors. Money was not an issue in Dawson, as gold was in abundance, and businesses that catered to the gold-strapped miners thrived. Dawson became known as the Paris of the North, the largest city west of Winnipeg and north of Seattle. Overnight millionaires roamed the streets seeking ways to spend their riches. The best food, drink and clothing were all available for purchase, at a high cost. Dance and gambling halls, bars, brothels, restaurants and supply stores all made fortunes mining the miners. Dawson continued to thrive until gold was found on the beaches of Nome, Alaska in 1899. Many of the same people who came seeking fortunes in the Klondike left Dawson in a new rush. Most gold rush participants found no gold at all. But the prospect of sudden riches was not all that mattered. For many of those who made the incredible journey, the Klondike represented escape from the humdrum, the adventure of a new frontier. The gold rush changed the landscape of the northwest end of North America forever. Transportation to the west and north were vastly overhauled to sustain the rush. Towns such as Victoria, Vancouver, and Edmonton owe much of their development to the last great rush. The north became accessible, attainable and, at least in the mind of the common man, conquerable. Today, this spirit can still be found in Dawson. Although the rush is over, gold mining still thrives, and the adventure it takes to get here, although less arduous, is still a reality. Come experience the rush for yourself and you'll see what all the fuss was about. Prior to the late modern period, the area was used for hunting, gathering by the hand-speaking people of the Hwëch'in and their forebears. The heart of their homeland was Hwëch'in, a fishing camp at the confluence of the Klondike River and Yukon River, now a National Historic Site of Canada, just across the Klondike River from modern Dawson City. This site was also an important summer gathering spot and a base for moose hunting on the Klondike Valley. The current settlement was founded by Joseph Ladue and named in January 1897 after noted Canadian geologist George M. Dawson, who had explored and mapped the region in 1887. It served as Yukon's capital from the territory's founding in 1898 until 1952. When the seat was moved to Whitehorse. Dawson City was the center of the Klondike Gold Rush. It began in 1896 and changed the First Nations camp into a thriving city of 16,000 to 17,000 by 1898. By 1899, the gold rush had ended and the town's population plummeted as all but 8,000 people left. When Dawson was incorporated as a city in 1902, the population was under 5,000. St. Paul's Anglican Church, also built that same year, is a National Historic Site. The population dropped after World War II when the Alaska Highway bypassed it 518 kilometers, 322 miles, to the south. The economic damage to Dawson City was such that Whitehorse, the highway's hub, replaced it as territorial capital in 1953. Dawson City's population languished around the 600 to 900 mark through the 1960s and 1970s, but has risen and held stable since then. The high price of gold has made modern placer mining operations profitable, and the growth of the tourism industry has encouraged development of facilities. In the early 1950s, Dawson was linked by road to Alaska, and in fall 1955, with Whitehorse along a road that now forms part of the Klondike Highway. In 1978, another kind of buried treasure was discovered when a construction excavation inadvertently uncovered a forgotten collection of more than 500 discarded films on highly flammable nitrate film stock from the early 20th century that were buried in, and preserved by, the permafrost. These silent era film reels, dating from between 1903 and 1929, were uncovered in the rubble beneath an old hockey rink. 9. See Dawson film find, owing to its dangerous chemical volatility. 10. The historical find was moved by military transport to Library and Archives Canada and the U.S. Library of Congress for both transfer to safety film and storage. A documentary about the find. The city of Dawson and the nearby ghost town of 40 Mile are featured prominently in the novels and short stories of American author Jack London, including The Call of the Wild. London lived in the Dawson area from October 1897 to June 1898. Other writers who lived in and wrote of Dawson City include Pierre Berton and the poet Robert Service. The childhood home of the former is now used as a retreat for professional writers administered by the Writers' Trust of Canada. Snowshoeing in Tombstone Territorial Park. Winter in Tombstone. If it's your dream to experience winter wilderness, then Tombstone this time of year is for you. On clear days, the mountains blanketed in brilliant white pop against the bluebird sky. Although the visitor facilities are closed in winter, the Dempster Highway and Territorial Park remain open, so bring your own equipment and snowshoe or ski across the vast snowy tundra. Check road conditions before heading out, and be sure to have warm winter clothes with you. For more information on winter in Tombstone, click here. Tombstone hosts daily programming and special events throughout the summer, from evening coffee houses at the Interpretive Center to weekends dedicated to birding. Check out their up-to-date schedule here, or check in with the friendly staff at the Visitor Information Center in Dawson City.